Welcome back to Good Morning Vail. Joining us here in the studio, I've got Mr. Douglas J. Patton. He's an author, and he's also a ski bum in the Vail Valley. Douglas, thanks for coming in. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Mark.
It was fun chatting with you off camera about all the things that you've done to bring you to this point where you have an introduction to your book at the Bookworm. It's called The White Guy in the Room. And you'll be at the Bookworm this Thursday.
Yes.
And you're going to just talk a little bit about writing a book, and there's a lot of things that have gone into this book from what you told me off camera. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it took me about 4.5 years, Mark, and it started...
Is that a long time to write a book? I don't know.
Well, I always see people, it takes them 8 or 10 years to write long books, like Doris Kearns. It took her 8 years to write Team of Rivals. But so I think 4.5. I wasn't like writing constantly, but you get into zones, so to speak, where you write a lot for a couple of weeks and then you were doing, and I had clients at the time, so I had other stuff going on as a lawyer. So it was good, but it was having a conversation with several of my African American friends in Washington, D.C., and they said, Doug, you ought to write a book because you're a white guy who understands us and has had history.
So are you the white guy in the room?
I'm the white guy in the room.
And is it taken first person? Is it
yes,
written that way?
Yes,
okay.
yeah. So it involves, I dedicated it to 3 African Americans that I knew over the space of time. 2, I don't know where they are. Third one got murdered in Cleveland, 1968. So it was, I started out saying I want to tell a story about, and it's more important today probably than it has been, concerning how a white person born in rural Iowa can go to Washington, D.C. and get involved in the civil rights stuff, so to speak. Poor People's March, the riots in Washington.
Wow.
And I did a campaign, early campaign. I did a lot of campaigns, probably did 30 or 40 in political campaigns. And then I went on Federal Election Commission. But all the time, and I got to know such people. I knew him 40 years, was Marion Barry, who was actually a friend of mine, and several other, I got to know black leaders from around the country. So,
okay.
So I wanted to tell a story that as a white person, you can understand black lives and black culture and try to do a bridge. And that's one of the purposes of the book.
And then when did you move to the Vail area?
I moved to the Vail area.
Why are you giggling? Because you were doing the book. I mean, obviously, this was since you've lived here.
Yeah, I wrote a lot here in the Avon Library, to speak. And so I moved here. I worked for Hubert Humphrey in the 68 presidential race. And a friend of mine, Terrence Ferry, who still lives here, I called him and I said, I want to learn to ski. And he was in Vail, and we lived above the old rucksack in Vail Village.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned to ski, and then later on, I was working at the New Canoe for a guy named Paul Johnson, who later became owner of the Christiana Lodge, and who's now unfortunately deceased. Became good friends, and so that started the history in Vail Valley, and we built our home here 2003 up in Mountain Star. So I've always known a lot of the, quote, older residents and citizens of the Vail Valley.
It's nice to see the diversity of the people that live here, obviously. I mean, you've done a lot with your life. You're here as a quote-unquote ski bum, but you're writing books, and who'd have known that you were even here? I had no idea. But now everybody can get to know you on Thursday night at the Bookworm, right?
Yes, hopefully.
Well, whoever shows up.
Whoever shows up.
And it's a small area. I've done a few of these book readings there with some of the other authors, and it's a neat experience.
Yeah.
It's a nice chance to kind of have a conversation like this, you and I chatting and people asking questions and you reading excerpts and your inspiration behind it.
I think people will appreciate, because there's a lot of history in it from the 60s on, and history does repeat itself. And I think that's important for people to know and understand.
Well, if it repeats itself, then you can be a little bit more prepared each time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Yep.
so 6 o'clock at the Bookworm in Edwards.
Correct. Yes.
I think people need to show up early. Your books will be available to purchase?
Yes, they will, and I'll sign them, of course.
Okay.
And they're all personal signatures. I don't do
You don't have a
generic.
stamp?
I don't have a stamp. I don't do them generically. So.
And it's a limited, there's not a lot of room there, so I think people need to show up early. Douglas, thank you for coming in. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Mark.
Enjoy
Really
your skiing today. I
appreciate it.
heard you're going to go skiing today. You should.
Yes, I will.
You see this guy on the slopes, stop by and pat him on the back. And also stop by the Bookworm Thursday night at 6 o'clock for his little book reading and a little intimate chat with Douglas J. Patton. We have more coming up on the show. We'll find Ashley for First Chair and Megan with your weather when we come back.